In 1945, 5 military aircraft disappeared mid-flight over the Atlantic Ocean. In 1967, a United States submarine vanished without a trace during a top-secret mission. And 4 centuries earlier, some of the most respected mapmakers in all of Europe charted an island that no longer exists on current-day maps, an island called Friesland. 3 moments in time, 1 location. So what's really hiding in the Atlantic Ocean? This is the story of a phantom island that may not be so mythical after all. An island that showed up on real maps for nearly 100 years, only to disappear, not just from the sea, but from history itself. And strangely, it just happens to match the last known coordinates of some of the most infamous disappearances of the modern era. But let's begin with the map that started it all. In 1558, a Venetian nobleman named Niccolò Zelo released a map that would stir the imaginations of explorers all across Europe. The map was based upon a family archive of letters and records and detailed a voyage from the 14th century. Zeno claimed that his ancestors discovered a large island in the North Atlantic, and they called it Friesland. But the map wasn't just a vague outline. This was a fully rendered landmass. It had mountains, rivers, towns, ports, and settlements. They were all labeled. The kind of precision that only comes from first-hand observations, or so it seemed. Renowned mapmakers of the day like Mercator or Ortelius, they didn't question it at all. They included Friesland in their own charts, and so did John Dee, Queen Elizabeth's trusted advisor and astrologer. Friesland became a fixture of maps across the European powers. It was so widely accepted that exploratory voyages were commissioned specifically to locate and claim it. But here's where things began to unravel. Ship after ship returned with the same report. There is no island at that location. Some captains claimed that they saw strange mist, compass failures, or ghostly landforms on the horizon only to vanish when they approached. And by the mid-1600s, Friesland began quietly disappearing from all the maps. Cartographers either erased it or never mentioned it again. Officially, it was dismissed as a mistake, a myth born from bad intel or sailors' tales. But privately, rumors began to spread that some ships out there, they did find something, and what they found was never meant to be seen. Documents from the Danish and English expeditions included missing pages, redacted coordinates, and unexplained notes like "do not speak of it" and "dangerous coast." And some historians believe that Friesland was erased, not because it didn't exist, but because someone wanted it hidden. So that was in the 1600s. Let's fast forward nearly 400 years. December 5th, 1945, 5 U.S. Navy Avenger torpedo bombers take off from Fort Lauderdale for a routine navigation drill. The weather was calm, pilots were super experienced. The plan is simple: fly out, execute a few turns, and return. But by 3:45 p.m., something's clearly wrong. Air traffic control receives panic transmissions. Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the lead pilot, sounds disoriented. His compass isn't working. Landmarks have vanished. He says, "We can't find the west. Everything is wrong. Even the ocean looks strange." Radio contact grows distorted, then fades entirely. Flight 19 never returns. No wreckage is found. Not a single trace of the planes or their crew is ever recovered. The Navy blames navigational error and bad weather. But here's the thing. Flight 19's last known position sits directly on top of where Friesland was once charted. Same coordinates, same stretch of empty water, and conspiracy theorists believe that Flight 19 flew into something. Not just bad weather, but a leftover fragment of whatever Friesland once was. A distortion, a portal, a hidden anomaly, or something far more dangerous. 22 years later, in 1967, the United States Navy launched a classified mission called Operation Deep Freeze. The public cover story was an Antarctic research. But newly uncovered documents suggest that there was another arm of the operation, one that took place far from the Antarctic. A nuclear submarine, unnamed in the redacted logs, was sent into the North Atlantic. At first, reports were standard: sonar scans, temperature logs, surface activity, and then silence. No distress call, no signal, just nothing. The submarine and everyone on board disappeared. The last known ping came from a location nearly identical to the ancient coordinates of Friesland. Recovered sonar data from nearby vessels showed impossible terrain, towering underwater ridges, sudden drop-offs, and what one reported as an anomalous topography inconsistent with known seafloor geology. One transmission fragment made it out. Not land, it's opening. The Pentagon? They shut the case down. But years later, the sonar team lead was interviewed off record. He said it wasn't land that they found. It was a doorway, and it was opening. So what's the truth? Skeptics argue that Friesland was nothing more than a mapping error, a fantasy created by bad math, old rumors, or intentional embellishment. Cartographic mistakes were common back then. It was 1558. The placement of the island on the map was based on letters and rumors. Why did other map makers of the day include it on their maps? I have no idea. I'm not from 1558. As for Flight 19, they say the disappearance was tragic but explainable. Navigational failure, storm conditions, and pilot disorientation. And the submarine? It was probably just mechanical failure. Or it could have been the Soviets. This was during the Cold War. These are all valid points. But let's zoom out for just a second. 3 major disappearances, 4 centuries apart, all centered on the same region. A place that was once drawn in detail on real maps. A place where compasses fail, transmissions distort, and terrain appears that it shouldn't exist. A place that nobody talks about. Some researchers now believe that the area near those coordinates is a magnetic anomaly zone, a hotspot for electromagnetic distortions, gravitational irregularities, and others just say it's a dimensional rift. Science, conspiracy. I love conspiracy, and I would much rather look at this as it was a dimensional rift, all right? I don't like debunking things. It's not my bag, baby. One fringe theory even claims that Friesland was never a landmass at all, but a massive ancient structure, a vault, a seal, a buried machine that should never be awakened. And if so, every expedition that got close wasn't exploring. They were disturbing something that responded. Today, Friesland is just considered a cartographic ghost, a phantom island erased by time and error, but its coordinates continue to whisper. Ships malfunction, radars glitch, people vanish, and all signs point back to one impossible question. What was Friesland hiding? Is there something really there? And is it still there, just beneath the waves, waiting? Or worse, waking up? Thanks for watching. If you found this little rabbit hole worth exploring, and if you want more stories exactly like this, or maybe a little bit different, leave me a thought in the comment section, and please like, share, and subscribe, because we're just getting started here, all right? And also, I'm on other platforms. You don't have to follow me there if you don't want to. It's fine. I'm all right. I do other content on other platforms. Different content. Not just this shit. Damn it, man.